Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we are now recording. Please mute yourself if you are not talking, but the first one up is going to talk. So let me tell you what's going on for a quick agenda. We are re-putting back in Testimonial Tree, and I want to tell you the main reason is because Testimonial Trees will send your surveys and stars out to Google. And your clients have to take one step and says, would you like to share this with Google? They click the button and everything they've done goes there. And I am convinced with the way buyer agency is going, this is going to be much more important. It's already been important. The nonprofits are making head over heels with that, but it's going to be important for everybody to have that Google testimonial. So that's why we're going back to Testimonial Tree. Super one-time access, we're going to talk about that real briefly, and then we're going to go over new forms. So first one up is Testimonial Tree, and Jessica Atwood is going to train you guys how to use it real quick. Jessica, can you share your screen?
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone. Go and move this over.
Greg, you have to stop sharing your screen.
Nope, there it is. Yay! It worked. When I make her co-host, it does different things. I'm learning.
Well, welcome, everyone. I'm Jessica from Testimonial Tree, and welcome back. I'm happy that you guys are back. I hope you're excited to be back. And yeah, we're just going to do a quick refresher on Testimonial Tree. To start accessing Testimonial Tree, you will be getting single sign-on access through Moxie. So I did just get an email about that this morning, Greg. So that should be coming shortly. That way you all do not have to remember a username or password. You'll be able to access Testimonial Tree right from within your Moxie site. Greg, I think we're asking that they put it into the toolbar at the top. Is that right?
It will be at the toolbar and it will replace the Real Scout link.
Perfect. So when that's up and ready, I'll make sure that Greg knows, and then he'll probably let all of you know, and then you'll click and you will come right into your Testimonial Tree dashboard. And as Greg mentioned, we are going to be helping to automatically send out the survey requests on your behalf. So we do, again, have this email that's going to automatically go out when your transactions close through Brokerage Engine. Your clients will be able to click in and submit the survey. Oops, sorry, this is the survey. There we go. That's your collection page. I'll get to that in a second. So this is the same as it was before. Clients are completing that star rating, leaving that great testimonial, providing some internal questions, and then clicking submit. And what Greg was just referring to with Google is anytime we have a 4 or a 5-star rating provided within this survey, we are actually going to redirect your clients to this page. So we are actually going to continue on that survey workflow and give your clients that opportunity to copy that testimonial. Then they land here. When they land here, they have that opportunity to provide star rating and pasting that testimonial, that great written piece, right into that Google business page, and then they can post. Now, we only provide this workflow when they leave, again, that 4 or 5-star review. If anyone were to leave that 1, 2, or 3-star review, that just becomes internal feedback. You do get those reminder or notifications, I should say, excuse me, for whenever those are completed. And of course, it will also record back into your dashboard. Something else, I think we had this built out for you before, and we're going to have it turned on again this time, is if there is a chance that we did not capture client contact information through Brokerage Engine, we will also have an email that gets sent out to you that will kind of notify you, right, that you had an opportunity for a survey to go out, but we were missing the client's email address. So again, that'll just be an email notification. It will say you had a closing at, and it'll list the property, and it'll give you an opportunity to enter in your client's contact information. And then that will ensure that that survey gets sent out. Again, once it's recorded in the dashboard, you get the notification, and then you can log in and you can see everything from here. So again, all of the surveys will tally on the right-hand side of your page. The testimonials will be here on the left-hand side of your page. You can always click in to view the testimonial right from the dashboard. And you can also use the action buttons here to click in and view those completed surveys. Testimonials, again, when they are 4 or 5-star reviews, those are also going to be able to display on your directory page. Now, this might have been updated a little bit since we last were working with you all. We did have a directory page before, but we did update it. So it's going to look a little bit different. And it does have your headshot, your name, the company, of course, where you're working. 4 and 5-star reviews will be published here, a little bit of contact information. And we even can have a testimonial collected from this directory page. And to remind you again, this is just an additional tool for you. It is a public-facing page. This does get indexed by Google, so this is great if you have potential clients searching for you. This will come up in search. And again, they're going to be able to, that potential client, whomever is Googling you, they will be able to click in and view and read these great testimonials. These will also then have the ability to get displayed on your Moxie website. So Testimonial Tree had that previously. We do have it again now. Testimonial Tree is a page that can get added to your Moxie site. If you need a refresher on how to add that, using the question mark in the bottom left-hand corner, we still have our knowledge base located right here. And if you type in Moxie, you will see how to turn on Testimonial Tree and your MoxieWorks account. So that third article down, this is going to go over, actually, we haven't, can't recall, Greg, if we had this location as well. We actually have 2 places where testimonials can display in your Moxie site. One, again, is that dedicated Testimonial Tree page that you can add from your add sites page in Moxie. And then also under integrated tools, which is located under your agent tools, Testimonial Tree is there. This might be a newer feature for you. You now have an opportunity to toggle on Testimonial Tree. You will need to enter in your email address. We are still getting your roster information from Moxie, so just input your email address for Moxie and click Save. And this is going to syndicate your reviews now to your bio page. It also, I don't think we have a screenshot in this article, but it's also going to have your overall star rating on all of your listings. So in your Moxie website, if you have that little contact card on your listings, underneath your name, it's now going to say, you know, 5 or 4 5-star ratings like it would for Pam. So when you connect with that integrated tools, it will display under the reviews tab on the bio, and then again also on your contact card. And there will even be a click to view, and that'll link that user back to this page so they can read all of your testimonials. And then we also still have our integration with Realtor.com. So if you are familiar with that, that's where we take all of these great, again, 4 and 5-star reviews, and we can syndicate those over to Realtor.com. Again, going to the question mark in the bottom left-hand corner, you can look up Realtor.com, and that article will be the first one. And you can, again, follow these steps, where to find your ID number, and then you can just go back to your profile and recommendations and click connect, add in your account number and save. And now all of your 4 and 5-star reviews will syndicate to Realtor.com. We do also have a great video here that you can watch that'll take you through these steps if you have any questions. And then something that is newer, if we go over to testimonials and manage, or at least it's been updated. I think we may have had the ability before to convert a written testimonial into an image, but we have actually released an update to that feature. So I think some of it will be newer. On your manage testimonials page, again, this is where you always see all of the reviews that are in your account. And if we go over to actions, we can see we have a generate image option. When we load this page, It is going to, again, convert a written testimonial into an image that you will be able to download and save to your device. And then you can use this for marketing. You can use this to share on social media. You will actually have, under the section select a template, if we click on that, you'll see we actually have 9 different templates to choose from. So again, I think previously we just had one. Now we've updated with these 9 different ones. The first 4 will utilize your agent headshot. The next 4 will provide a stock photo. So if you didn't for some reason want to use your photo, you could use either the one here with this kitchen, or there's some family stock photos kind of in the background of these. And the last one has a plain background. If you use one of the images, let's say with your headshot, and you actually didn't want to use this headshot, nor did you like any of the stock photos here, you can click on profile photo and you can actually upload a different image. Replace your headshot with an image of the property. Maybe it's you with your clients in front of that for sale sign or sold, or with the big key. You guys can get creative and you can change, swap out, and insert any photo that you have saved. Maybe that has to do, of course, with the client who left that great review. You can change some other things too. If you wanted to change that star rating, maybe you want to try to use a gold color instead of that green, you can try making those changes there. If for some reason your client's name wasn't abbreviated, if the full name is here and you didn't want to create that with the last name, you do have the ability to shorten that as well. So again, you are going to give you lots of different features that you can change to make this really stand out in the way that you like. And then again, you're just going to click download, and that now saves that image to your device. And you can just go to any social media site. So if we go to Facebook, let's say I'll go to my Facebook here. And if I click in to create a post, I am going to just take that image I just created and drag and drop it in. And there it is. And now I can share this onto my social media wall. Again, this is Facebook, so I can post it here. I can thank my clients. I can, maybe wish them good luck if they're moving away, or congratulate them on that new home if it's a brand new home they just purchased. But I think putting that personal touch is really great. And if you're actually friends with your clients, you can even tag them. And when you tag them, of course, they then have that opportunity to get notified. They can then view, share, like, and every time these posts get touched, right, that's just greater for you, more exposure within that social media site, and hopefully helps you grow your business. So again, you can add these to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. You can even add these images as an update to a Google business page. So if you have your own Google business page, you can actually upload, images there. Maybe you've done that already, but this is just another image, and you can upload it like you would any other image on your Google business account. You can still always unpublish a testimonial. That really hasn't changed, but just thought I'd mention it again, right? Anytime you guys get a 4 or 5-star review and you don't want to share it, you still can go to your actions, testimonial marketing, and from this page, you will have an opportunity to unpublish it. One thing though that might be newer, I don't know if we had this before or not, you can see that there was a little spinner there going under this publishing section, is we do now have textual analysis. So we are reviewing the testimonial, the text of the testimonial with a tool that's powered by Google, just to ensure that there isn't any profanity being provided right within that testimonial. If that text analysis did pick up profanity, it would automatically unpublish these, even if it was a 4 or 5-star review. But if it's a 4 or 5-star review, and again, maybe you don't want to have it shared, you can uncheck these boxes and then click that publish. And again, it would remove the testimonial from publicly being seen, but it still stays in Testimonial Tree. You even
Hey,
have.
Jessica,
Yep.
with that text analysis, will it also analyze for spelling errors?
Not for spelling errors, unfortunately. Because I actually will even say, we did have one where it was flagged and they misspelled a person's name, and it did kind of come across actually as profanity. So in that sense, it picked it up. But you know, if someone just misspells a regular word, it's not going to flag it. In that instance, you would still, I think, want to reach out to Greg, or Greg, I believe you said there's someone else who might be assisting with this, and they can make those edits for you if needed.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Let's see here, printing. So you guys were always able to print. You can print a testimonial right from here. That's just an internal print. Up top, though, we do have the print option where it allows you to select several testimonials to print out. So this will list all of the reviews that are in your account. And you can actually select as many as you'd like. I'll select all 3 since they're all 5 stars here. But let's say you had 15 or 20 testimonials and you wanted to put together a document of your 5 or 6 favorite. Just check them off, click print, and it downloads a PDF document that again has your contact, your headshot, and those reviews that you selected. This is a document you can put together, maybe bring to an open house, put to, in a prospective client packet, anywhere again where you just need a printout of your favorite testimonials. And it's nice because you can continue to create these as you get more and more reviews. And that again was that print feature in the upper right-hand corner. We still have that ability to add existing. So if you ever, if you've had any new maybe reviews collected that you want to have added into Testimonial Tree, you can always click add existing, copy and paste that testimonial in, and put the name of the client and when it was received and save. And then our collect feature, this was here before as well, but we'll just go back over to this. This is another just additional tool for you. It's in addition to the automated survey. This is where you can come and send out a request. This might be helpful if you had a closing maybe a couple months ago and no request was sent to that client, and now you want to take an opportunity to send one. So you can think of this as a great tool to reach out to past clients. You can also reach out to people you work closely with, maybe other vendors, title insurance, mortgage brokers, home inspectors. Click send via email or send via text, so you can decide how you would like that request to be sent out to whomever it's going to. It could actually even go to another agent, by the way, if you want to get sort of a peer-to-peer type testimonial. But you just need to input the recipient's name and email address, and then you're going to send the request. And that was Pam's, let's see here, I've got a couple things open. Let me go ahead and close that. Here we go. So this is Pam's collection page. Again, this is a great tool to utilize for people you work closely with, vendors, past clients, or maybe even other agents that you work with where you just want to get that star rating and a great testimonial. So you can send that out directly from the dashboard using, again, either that send via email or send via text, or you can even right-click on this link here and click copy. And then you can input this into your own email. So if you wanted to draft your own email, you can just insert that link. And then you could even consider, maybe you guys had this previously, this would have been an option before. You can always have this link in your email signature. Great way to get a testimonial no matter whom you're emailing with. That could even be potential, current, or past clients, right? If you always have that link in your email signature, you're always providing that opportunity to collect a testimonial. And again, if anyone leaves you a 1, a 2, or 3 star, that's always internal feedback. So that's not going to be anywhere but in Testimonial Tree's dashboard. And the 4 and the 5s are the ones we help you share out. There's also a hyperlink to your directory page. So if you want to humbly brag, show off all your great testimonials in your email signature, you can even add that link into your email signature. Going down to reports. So once those surveys are back up and going and we are sending out your survey requests to your current clients, you can always visit survey requests sent. This was the same as before as well. And we will have a running list of the surveys that have been sent on your behalf. It does default just to show you the last 90 days, but you can always look back further if you'd like to. But again, it'll have your client name, client email, phone number if we had that for texting, the date and time it was sent. And then we are still using our reminders. So we did have that before and we still do now. We'll make sure to send reminders to your clients. And then for reporting, you can always visit Survey Dashboard. And this is again where you can choose a date range, one of these predetermined dates, or go into the actual date fields here and select your own date range. Click Apply Filter, and we'll give you back data in terms of how many surveys were sent for that time period, what your how many surveys were collected or completed, and what your completion rate is, and we'll tally your average star rating and your NPS score. And then just going back down to the Help Center, again, we have great articles, all sorts of different articles have videos attached as well. So if you ever have questions about something, even that new image generator tool, so that is here, how to share on social
Hey, sorry
media,
for the
that is
background noise.
here.
I'm in a Zoom
So
class,
there's
but
all.
on Jackie Veramontes, is she
Excuse me?
FHA?
Sorry, I think someone's unmuted.
Hang on a minute.
So you can always search, and then if you are searching the knowledge base, but you can't find an answer to a question, we do have our tickets here. I think this was here before, but if you weren't aware, you can always submit a support ticket to our support team. So you just need to input your email address, subject, and a description and click submit, and our support team can always assist you with any questions that you have. And I think that's all. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
When the client gets the link to fill out answer the questions and do the testimonials, is there a testimonial box after each question, or is there a main testimonial box at the end? I don't want them to go in and fill out a testimonial on one of the questions and then it not be included in the main one. That makes sense.
I think so. So the surveys, the automated piece that go out with the integration that we have, when a transaction closes out, right, on a daily basis, we get a list essentially from Brokerage Engine of those transactions along with your client's information. An email goes out and they click in, and when they click in to submit that survey, there is just one testimonial box. Now there is the star rating. There's some internal questions. I think unfortunately I closed it a minute ago. But it is going to have, because this is the collection page, this is not the survey. But there is only one testimonial box, whether it's the collection page or the survey. There's only one box that's going to collect that written testimonial.
Perfect, because our previous one had several different testimonial boxes and
Yeah, not this one.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Next question I have for you you had talked about the client has to copy and paste their testimonial for it to go on to Google. I don't want them to have to take any more steps than they need to. Is there not a way that the system can just automatically put it on Google?
Unfortunately not, because Google is a separate application, right? Google itself, so when I was on the company's Google business page here, you can see I'm actually logged in. Google is always going to require that your client has an account. So whether they're using Chrome, like I'm using Chrome right now, so that's I didn't even have to log in, right? It authenticated my account because I'm using Google Chrome. Whether your client is on an Android phone, whether they're logged into Google Maps or something, or if they're not, they would actually need to, I think, log in or somewhere, post who it is. That keeps the authenticity of Google's reviews, reliable. Otherwise, if we could just post everything on behalf of your clients, so would everyone else in the world. And then there isn't any way to confirm that those are your actual clients. So we're only giving, again, your happy clients this opportunity based on the star rating that they leave in the survey, but they do have to kind of take that step to copy and paste before posting.
And even if they do nothing more than come in here and hit a 5-star and don't put a detail in there, it's still gonna go out as a star rating, which is what's important in Google.
Right, but it would also be nice to have the testimonial out there. So we'll just have to, in our request that we ask them to take that extra step to copy and paste it on Google.
Okay.
I think, you hit on a good point there. Information or communication is gonna go a long way. Even just, I think, hopefully you guys are already in the habit of letting your clients know a request is coming in general. And if you also mention there's that Google step at the end, please don't forget to click copy and post to Google, something as simple as that. Prompting your clients with that information, I think you will see that completion rate go up.
And I have one other question, but this may be something that I need to take offline with Greg. Is there a way that if two of us realtors are teaming up, that we get,
They have teams.
can we
I can
be able
put
to
people
set,
on teams.
can we set up, like, she has an individual and I have an individual, and we have one for when we've done one together?
Sort of, but probably not. Moxie is gonna feed this, and if you're a team in Moxie, you're a team everywhere. If you're not a team in Moxie, you're not a team anywhere. Okay? Okay, well, no one else has questions for Jessica, I do wanna move kind of fast. Cause I've got a lot to cover.
Okay. You can always reach out to us later as well if there are follow-up questions. I'm happy to follow up with you guys later, but thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
you.
Okay, now I gotta go back to screen share and I wanna go to here. Share. So what I can tell you is I submitted about a week ago for Testimonial Tree to have the the single sign-on. They told me it'd take 7 days. They've got some updates going, so they are working on it. I like to give them a little doubt and say maybe another week, but when it happens, I'll send out an email so you don't have to remember any extra logins. Moving on, Supra Lockboxes. Supra Lockboxes we have in our MLS now an ability to give a one-time access to people who are not Supra users. This was released to committee last week, but they haven't told the general population out there yet. So don't be bragging to all your realtor friends that we know something that they don't know, But here's the way it would work. Let me discuss what applications could be. You've got a carpenter who wants to go into a house to fix something in the home. You can text him a one-time access code that limits the date and time that he can go in. It will also record when they go in and go out. So they can walk up to the house, click a couple of buttons, they go into the house and they're done. What if you have an out-of-town realtor who wants to show your listing? You can use it for that. What if you have a carpet cleaner who wants to go in? What if you get a call from somebody who says, I want a CDS code, and no, we don't use CDS codes anymore. We're gonna use this, so you don't have to write down an extra number. There will be a couple of tricks to this, like you should discuss with your client. Is it okay if the appraiser comes in without me? Do you want a home inspector to come in without me? Et cetera, et cetera. Those are decisions that you can make, but you don't have to call here to get a CDS code anymore. The other caveat is there is some protection that somebody used to be a real estate agent here and quit being a real estate agent, but now wants to go around and look and show houses. If their phone number is registered with Supra already previously, then they have to call our local board of realtors and get that cleared through them before they can use this program. Did y'all understand that or have any questions about it? For the most part, if they're trying to scam the system, they can't.
Greg, I have a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's
So
all right.
when you say they call the board and ask or get that permission, is that one time to cover, or is that every time that an agent, a past agent wants to show, so we can keep track of that? I
think it's one time, and they're gonna have to justify that time. So let's look at it this way. I used to be an agent.
Mhm.
I quit being an agent so I can be a home inspector.
Oh,
You have to justify that existence with the board before they're allowed to use this. If they're
okay,
using the same cell phone number.
okay, okay. But the general public who just wants to show a house or look that they're looking for themselves, can they get in with the one-time code?
Only if you give them the one-time code. So that's a decision you'll make on an agent on a case by case. But as a brokerage, I would say, don't ever give the client this code.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Pull it
absolutely.
in your hands. Okay,
Okay, okay.
It's not gonna replace CVS codes, but if we didn't have the CVS code, like for an inspector or appraiser, we could do this instead.
absolutely. Or let's say you've got somebody who doesn't have an ET or whatever. But that's what this is mostly for.
Kingman and Winfield right now. and
Exactly.
That's why we've got that.
And if you had somebody who wanted to show that house in Kingman or Winfield. So the way this program is going to work is first, you have to assign the key to the lockbox to the home. If it's not assigned to the home, you can't use this. Now, how do you assign a house to the home? Well, first off, you have to have opened the shackle. Since we own all the lockboxes, the way this system works and all Supra Lockboxes work is once you open the shackle, they presume that you have the authority to use that box appropriately for the company. So you open the shackle, you open it up, and one of the things it's going to ask you is select a reason that you're opening the shackle. Well, I'm adding a new listing. It's that simple. Click on that and add the new listing, and it's going to ask you, enter the address or the MLS number. Obviously, if you have the MLS number, it's easier than typing in a whole address. Tap save and you're done. You have now taken control of that lockbox and you're ready to put it on your on your phone. Yeah, that's right. So then what happens? You've assigned a lockbox to a house and you want to know how you're going to manage the access and give someone a single sign-on code. First thing you're going to have to do is look for this box right here that says manage access. If that is not on your e-key, you have to update your e-key or you haven't updated it in a while. So open your e-key, look and make sure it says manage access. If it doesn't, you need to go to either your iPhone store, whatever they call that thing, or your Google Play Store. And notice mine says open right here. It will also come down and say update right below it if you need to update it. But again, if you see this manage access here, you're done, you're fine, you don't have to worry about it.
Right, but
Okay.
update just shows.
Can they call or set an appointment through
No,
no? Okay.
this is only for you guys. I can't do it for you. So,
I'm sorry, I'll ask you later.
I haven't set any appointments yet, so I don't know how the broker may.
well, that's a different story. So if somebody calls you and they say, I need a single access on my phone, you would open up your e-key app, just your normal e-key app, and click on My Key Boxes. Then a list of key boxes that you have the shackle code to shows up here. This list would really be overwhelming if it were mine, because I've got 180 lock boxes. I don't want to go through that many. This brings up one point I might think about to you. If you want to keep your list nice and short, when you return a lockbox, make me or somebody else open it up so it takes it off your list. It doesn't matter if it's on your list, because when we check it out again, the next person's going to open up the shackle code. But if you got a whole bunch of lockboxes there, you may say, ooh, I need to clean that up. What you will see once you've opened the shackle and you've entered an address or an MLS number, is any lockboxes that you have assigned to an address are gonna populate here.
That's not correct, because I'm looking at mine and I have got
Yep, you got too many.
too many, but there's 2 with addresses and I've never seen those addresses before, so I know those are not my lock boxes. 'Cause-
Well, then somebody put them on, we'll have to look at those afterwards, but in general,
But my one listing that I have up there is not.
Okay.
It's not, so that's. kind
well,
of
we'll
a
take
miss.
a look for that afterwards. But you click on the lockbox you have, and it brings up this menu. You can program the key box, like require feedback, you know, what the shackle code's gonna be and so on. You can edit the data, and the last thing you can click on is grant managed access. So open the key box, click on manage access. When that opens the next screen, you will have a choice of either typing in a phone number or adding a phone number from your contacts. So if it's an inspector you use all the time and it's your listing, you could put that in there. What if you have a sewer scope going on that you use the guy all the time? You pull his name right out of the contacts and add it. You'll see below that it has the listing info. After it has a phone number, it will move on. If you do not have an address currently, as Sandra suggested, you may have a lockbox that it wasn't assigned to a listing, which can happen. Somebody didn't assign it. You can type in the address manually, but you have to have an address or it won't let you go forward. You'll also see MLS number is optional. Then it will take you to what day and time you want this to be on. The access hours you're gonna allow it, you can make it 2 hours, 1 hour, 5 hours. I would really try not to assign it for more than 1 day. Pick the start and stop time. And by the way, if you give it to them for 2 days and they go in once and use the code, it is now dead. They can't go back the next day and use it. You can add additional notes. So let's say you're sending them over, you know, there's a big dog in the backyard, tell them not to mess with the dog in the backyard, not to turn the water on, whatever notes you want to set to this. And then they are going to get a text message that looks like this. So I can't show you what happens to them, but I can describe it. They will get a text message, and if they have never downloaded the e-key, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to click on it, and it's going to say you must download the app. They're still using our app. Then they're going to get a second text that says, here's your one-time link. Any questions about that?
The CVS code still work?
Yes.
What about, like lockboxes as agents individually own the part of the company?
This will still work for them as well. Okay?
This is a good thing.
Hmm?
This is a good thing.
I think that we'll find it's gonna be a good thing, because what we're gonna see by fall and next winter is out of area agents coming down here to show property. Or licensees who aren't realtors to show property. Now, how you're gonna verify is gonna be up to you, whether you go to CREC or whatever you wanna do, but this is now you're in your hands to do it. Some additional functions, managed access again. You will come up to recent invites, history, reports, who has completed their use, those that are still pending and so on. I don't know how incredibly useful these are most of the time, but if somebody hasn't used their invite or they have, you might want to see when they went in and when they left and so on. If there are no more questions, we're going to tackle forms.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
so clarify for me, please, this does not replace the CBS code, or it does replace the CBS code?
It does not. However, if Tim checked out a lockbox and forgot to get the CBS code, and I'm not answering my phone that day, you have an alternative.
Okay.
And some of your service providers, let's say painters, sewer inspectors and so on, may not have a lockbox key. Therefore, they couldn't use a CBS code.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
I put forms last so I could get you all to stay around the room as long as possible. And I'm going off of memory, so if I do things wrong, please chime in and ask questions. There are 3 or 4 new seller or listing agreements. By and large, it doesn't matter which one you look at, these changes are kind of universal across all of them. The first thing that changed was the terms. Property is offered at X number of dollars, purchase price, then it has cash, loan, conventional assumption, FHA, VA, and seller carry. I don't think there should be any questions about that. But because they added some of this up there, what happened after that is all the numbering changed after it. So that's why the numbers are all highlighted. What the broker agrees to and so on. So the next page with major changes are page 2. I need to move something up here for a minute so we can see them all. So on page 2, there are some changes. First, the compensation used to say of contract price or list price or something like that. It has now been changed to purchase price, which is more accurate, but again, shouldn't be causing you guys any heartache. Right below that, it is made something that is painfully obvious now because the public seems to not have been informed. Brokerage fees are not set by law and are fully negotiable. That statement, according to the Board of Realtors in our recent settlement, has to be on all listing agreements so that the public is informed everything is negotiable. And we can argue the merits of that if you want, but let's keep pushing through here. The next thing that changed significantly was how we're going to offer compensation and cooperation. And then we're going to make sure that the seller knows how we're going to split up that cooperation or that compensation. Now, obviously, you can't offer compensation if they said no to the above, which you'd put an NA in here or a line through an initial. But if they say, yes, I'm going to offer a buyer's compensation, and we have let's say 8% up above, you're going to say, Mrs. Seller, my services are normally right at 4.5%. Is it all right with you if we offer the remainder of that to the buyer agent? And you have to actually put in the percentage or the dollar amount that the listing broker and the buyer is going to get, either as a buyer broker or transaction broker, and have them initial. I know that sounds more confusing than it really is.
Basically, like that line's 83 where it says listing broker and buyer's broker. If you have, let's say, 7% up on line 4, seller agrees to pay broker 7%. Then down there, those 2 lines need to equal 7%. So
Correct.
Listing broker might be 3%, buyer's broker or listing broker may be 4%, and on the left side of the dash, and then 4% on the right side of the dash. If you'll
Yes.
highlight where if you'll move your cursor where
Down here.
right here. So those 2 amounts have to equal what's up top.
Yes. And here's the reason that happened. There were some agents out there who were selling themselves at, let's say, 5.5%, just so you know, we're not, and that's an example. But they were keeping 3.5% and only offering 2, because their seller had no idea how they were splitting commissions up. And we want to make sure that the seller is fully informed how you are splitting commissions up. Any questions on that? Okay. And let's see, I put some little arrows in here in boxes and I forgot to tell you about, but you saw them all anyway. Next page. Page 5. Have to move this up a bit. They have now added a paragraph at the end that talks about the seller's representations and warranties. This has not been in before. It's probably a good idea, but it's mostly legalese. It's the seller is saying they are the legal owner and they have the authority to sign the contract. So if somebody is pretending to list something they don't, now we have the ability to take them to court, get them in trouble, and so on and so forth. Any questions about that?
Should be nice if their name was somewhere on that contract.
I brought that up after they only roll these out once a year, and I said, I'm really confused by, and not to insult anybody on the forms committee in our office. Normally, when I see a contract, it says who, what, and how much right at the top. This says what and how much. It's almost like I, as a seller, am representing that I'm representation for the house. Why don't we have name at the top? And the little gal said, you're right, why don't we have that? Because for years, I've been trying to decipher the words at the end last page. Let's keep going. They added 3 statements that it's legalese, basically. We're in the state of Kansas. You can't change this unless it's in writing, and neither party can assign this without consent of the other. That means I can't list your house and then pass it over to JP Wygant to list it unless the seller also agrees. Okay. Let's go to seller's property disclosure. Page 1 and 2, they added a new column to. And this new column, it looks very extensive, is basically smart devices. Do you have a smart water softener? Do you have a smart instant hot water heater? Do you have smart pool equipment? I don't know that I've ever seen smart pool equipment, but what do I know? Dixie could probably tell me more than that. Bottom line is, sometimes when you have a smart device, you have a log in and out of it that we need you to surrender because we don't want you to have control of that device 6 months from now. So we're asking that question up front. If any of these things are smart devices, please check it, initial it there, and give us some notes down at the bottom so that we can be informed when we're moving into something. That's only on page 1 and 2, and I don't believe anything else changed on this. Any questions about this one?
Amazing they're still using my form.
Hmm?
It's amazing they're still using my form.
They love you, Lance. Actually, everybody else is too lazy to change it. Let's go to buyer agency agreement. This gets a little bit more interesting. They put at the top, they renamed it buyers and brokerage. And the capitalization there now means that all through the contract, when you see a capitalized buyers or capitalized brokers, that is indicating the 2 parties to the contract. Page or number 12, let's see if it, yeah. Number 12, VA buyers are prohibited from paying brokerage fees. If this is the first time you've heard that, I'm sorry. This has been in effect since, I know for a fact, 2014, because I can bring up the publication. I don't know what that's going to do to our future, but I need you to know VA buyers cannot pay for buyer broker. Look at paragraph 4. compensation. You have two blanks there, a percentage sign and a dollar sign. Whatever you put in there is the maximum you can receive. Let me restate that again so you don't get confused. If you put 1% there and the seller is offering 3%, you can't collect 3%. You can only collect what you put in this form. Now, it's always sort of been that way. But some people have, and when we get inspected for that. But I know this has been a loose one out there.
So if you put 3% in there, can you take 1%?
Absolutely. You can always take less. And that would be something to discuss with your client at the time. But if you read through this paragraph, what it says is, I'm going to charge you 3.5%. They were only offering 1%. You have to write me a check for the other 2.5%. Again, you can take less, but that's what it says. And note the last line there, brokerage fees are not set by law and are fully negotiable, just like on the listing agreement. They've always been negotiable, but people have been confused. Next page. This is similar to the paragraph that was in the contract or the listing agreement. I have the legal right to engage this. We don't want somebody signing a buyer agreement that is already under buyer agreement with somebody else. When they sign this, they are telling us, I legally can sign this and I'm not obligated to other people. I think that's an important paragraph to read to people sometimes. Again, we changed some numbering. Let me make sure we didn't change anything else. Yep, numbering. We added some legalese, and that's it. Any questions about the buyer agency so far? My online people are very quiet. Probably because most of these make sense. This is a new buyer seller, or the buyer cost of purchase. In the past, I've suggested you use a good faith estimate from your lender. I'm still not saying that's a bad idea. I think that's the most accurate and it's the best you're going to get. However, this came up the other day with somebody saying, well, what if they're offering something from the MLS, but I've got a brokerage fee in here? How do I account for that? Well, you write a note out to the side, may be covered by sellers, by the seller for you. But you also might want to start checking with the lender's GFE and see if they include anything about a buyer agency fee. Just suggesting that. I don't think it's a difficult thing to handle, but it is a new line in there. And it can be confusing if you're telling people, just in case I'm not paid X number of dollars over here, you're going to owe me this much money as part of their cost of purchase.
In my form, I have a couple lines there for other. I'm just going to change one of them to brokerage fee.
That's a good idea. And you could always line a second line down there if you wanted to. If the buyer agency isn't covered, if it is covered, and have two totals at the bottom. But again, back to my recommendation. You guys don't keep up with loans well enough, in my humble opinion, to be able to figure out every line on here. Get the good faith estimate from your lender, and because all their fees are different as well. Okay.
Hey, Greg,
Yes, sir.
going back to that brokerage fee. So, roll back a page.
Trying to, there you go.
Okay. So would that typically be 3% on there, or would that be like a net number? If we know that the seller is only offering to pay 1%, but we need to be paid 3%, you know.
So whatever percentage or straight fee that you have on your buyer agency agreement,
That's the number that goes here.
that's the number that goes here.
Okay, thank you.
And if you don't intend to collect any additional, should the seller not offer enough, you could zero it out here or do whatever and initial it off to the side, say, this is why I'm doing it. But that's correct. This is where you put your buyer agency fees from that agreement. Okay? Okay. Contract. We have had some fun thinking about this one. Because underneath the contract inspection period days and all of that, they have built into here, inspections can include, and then they outlined everything, including some newer ones, septic, lagoon, well, water, and so on. There are some municipalities that require a well inspection if you're gonna transfer title.
As I say, it's a different thing, but yes.
Septic as well.
Hmm?
Septic as well.
And the septic must be pumped out and so on. So here's the deal. I'm buying a house that I know has a well, but I put in here 10 business days to get all my inspections done. And the city can't inspect it in 10 days. What have I done to my client, my contract?
Does an inspection just mean a potability test?
It may be, but if it's required to be done by the city, they may not get out there for 3 weeks.
The city requires a title transfer, and all they do is they come out and look at the wellhead to make sure it is up to code. They don't test the water, they don't test the pump, they don't test any of that, they don't test the water levels. I've got a problem with that, and I also have a problem why they included lead-based paint in this paragraph.
There's nothing we can do about it.
I know there isn't, I'm just saying that I'm telling everyone, because I just taught this course last week, my inspections course. And I basically told everybody in class that lead-based paint is a federal law and probably shouldn't be included in this paragraph. And then when I had questions about it, I said, if they want to do a risk assessment for lead-based paint, if you go to that paragraph, it says how many days you can get, you have the option to put the number of days you want the lead-based paint done.
Well, I'm gonna take stucco on EFIS. Sherry had a client that we needed to evaluate the stucco because it was rotten and coming down. And the only person that would come down and look at it for mold was from Kansas City. And it took a month for him to get down here. So we have now just landed in your buyer agent plate. All of those things you need to account for the days. Now, there are different ways you could handle it. If you want to put a 10-day inspection, but you're going to write in the miscellaneous paragraph that any well or water or septic tank will be exempt from this, but must be done within a certain amount of days, you need to be aware of that. What you don't want is to have your client not be able to buy a property or get sunk with inspections. So in general, be aware of what kind of house you're buying before you write the contract. Get an idea of what kind of time your inspections would take, including the lead-based paint lands for houses that were built prior to 78 and so on.
Can you do an amend and extend?
Only if both parties agree. What if you don't find out until later and the seller says, tough, you missed out, I don't care. It's his problem.
It's imperative for everyone on this to understand that if you see something on the list that you know is going to take more than 10 days, you better write it up in the miscellaneous paragraph or an attached separate amendment, spelling it out beforehand. Because like Greg just said, if you don't, and this is in there, and like you can't do an asbestos check within the 10 business days, you're gonna have to ask for that extension. The seller doesn't have to give it to you.
Well, I'll go another way. If you see one of those things up there, I might start saying, I'm gonna need 30 days to have this house inspected because I know you gotta get a pump and somebody to come out. Now, I will also say this, there was some discussion earlier about what cities require well inspection for transfer. So I contacted security first because they're my experts. they don't have a list of what. However, they're thinking, maybe we better get one now because this is built in here in the way.
So
it's
those
built in.
irrigation wells as well as,
No, this would normally be drinking water, but
Okay.
any municipality could say irrigation wells as well. Because there was a problem out northeast with some water and, they were spraying it out for irrigation and people were getting infected. So it could be any of those.
What you need to know for right now is that if you have a property that has a well, whether it's drinking well, irrigation well, it doesn't matter. If it's in the city limits of Wichita, you have to have a title transfer inspection done. Period.
Okay,
That one we.
And it's $125. And the form says it's generally paid by the seller unless otherwise negotiated.
well, we're gonna get to that in a minute, because now they have a new form for that.
Yes, they do.
So I wanted you to all, I think I've told you everything you need on that. Is there any questions about the inspections? And note that even though they put a whole bunch, including sewer lines in here, included but not limited to. They want to make sure you all understand there is nothing that in the past we might have said, oh, that's going to take longer, but it's all right, everybody knows it. They've removed that from you. You don't get that choice. Okay. Oops. So, speaking of the new form, this is the septic laterals and lagoon inspection form. And it cut off the top up there. You're gonna have to take my word for it. The problem is that this form, there was a question about, should we sign this form on every house we get through? And I think the answer is no. But I think you should be aware when you're writing a contract, is there septic, laterals, or lagoon or well on the property? Part of the reason there was discussion about everybody should sign this for every property had to do with if there's a well and you need to have it for title transfer. I think if there is a property condition report disclosure that does not have well on it, it would be a violation of the contract in the first place. The seller ought to know if he's got a well or not. And if so, then this could start coming into play. But you also need to be smart enough to walk outside and see if there's an irrigation well. You can see that this form also has who's going to pay for what. Cost of the inspection, buyer or seller. Cost of pumping, buyer or seller. And in general, I think the seller had to pay for it in most cases for the pumping, but it's now become a negotiable item. However, it's always said in the past, unless you pump it, you can't sell it, so you're going to pay for it. I'm just telling you that now everything on here is negotiable. They added some other language in here about the buyer not having the wells inspected or analyzed and if they're satisfactory and so on and so forth. But this is gonna be pretty much spread out or cover everything outside of the city sewer and water that I can see.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
one, it's the abandoned wells that are probably going to be the problem. Like the current owner of the house may not even know that there's a shallow well, that surfaces in the, in the basement of the house. He'll probably know that, but maybe it's in the garage or behind the garage or someplace that. So it's like we're going to have to be looking for holes in the ground.
Yes, I don't think you're gonna have to call central inspections for a while, but there could be some old properties that, never was licensed or had an inspection for a while. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of ifs and ands here that we could really play. But the bottom line is, if the seller didn't know he had a well and one is discovered to transfer title, then I think this is going to become a more negotiable item than not.
So Greg, to piggyback on that, I just filled out listing paperwork this weekend that the woman selling the property lives in Butler County, and they had a well when they built the house in 1977, but it hasn't been used in like 40 years. They're on rural water in Butler County. So do we still have to fill out this form and have it inspected or not?
Opportunity doesn't
I
require.
don't think Butler County requires.
It has to be. If there's a hole in the ground, that's a well. And the city, the county, or whoever is gonna want that plugged.
Well, and remember what we're talking about here is what needs to happen and who pays for it to transfer title. If they don't require the inspection or somebody to come out and look at that and so on and so forth, you know, this is gonna be more the buyer and seller choice. And
Okay.
if the buyer says, I know there's a hole in the ground that was there 50 years ago and I don't care, and it's not needed to transfer title, well, that's the buyer's choice.
Out of county does not need to be inspected, just FYI, only in the city for title transfer.
And I'm trying to get a specific list. And I told security first, you cover a whole state, you ought to have a list someplace. And they're listening. Any other questions about this form? Okay. Here's a new mediation form. In general, I have no problem with the form. However, I have a problem with why they're requiring us to sign this form. I don't really care if you want your buyer or seller to sign it. It's kind of between the buyer and sellers. I like the way it specifies things out, tells them they have choices. But it says right over here, by signing below, I acknowledge that I've been provided and read through this mediation form. That's all it says. But guess what?
Already in there.
So does your contract. So why have I mean, yes, you gotta give them the form, but I don't need them to sign it. And if the person on the other side says, I refuse to sign, don't get upset about it. It's already built into the contract to purchase.
Is it in the listing agreement too?
No, this is the contract to purchase because that's between the buyer and the seller rather than the listing and so on. Listing and broker. But just be aware, it doesn't hurt to have them sign the form. It's not worth the battle to try to get somebody to sign they don't want to, because it's already built in here.
So what happens if we have the listing and then we get a contract, an offer in on our property and there's contract and then comes over signed from with the buyers, and what if our sellers don't want to sign that?
They don't have to, because it's already built into the contract. Now, again, you have to pick your battles, and there are some real estate agents in this city. I wouldn't battle over this because I don't want to put up with the headache. On the other hand, none of this is our choice. It's always the buyer or seller choice. And I roll with that. I think too many realtors get their own feelings in the way, and they ought to just talk to their buyer or seller, take their opinion and express it. We won't sign that. Well, we're not signing anything. The seller says he prefers not to. I'm sorry. Okay?
So if I always have my buyers and sellers just sign a copy of that mediation brochure that we've had, is that fine too?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the form changes that I have.
Hey, there's one more that you didn't acknowledge.
What's that?
On the bottom of the sales contract, purchase contract, there's always been a little paragraph after the section where everybody signs. There's now also initial spots down there that I missed over the weekend. Because I'm not used to looking for those on the very last page.
what, at the bottom where it says buyer's initial
On
seller?
page 7.
Yeah, on the very last page, underneath the signature section, there's always been a little paragraph that says something about, you know, these forms were vetted by our MLS, you know, but there's never been spots to initial on the bottom of that page because the signatures are there. And now there are spots for initials there too.
I'm gonna tell you, there's been initials there come and gone in several different ways in several different forms. And the bottom line is, if it's a signature page, you don't have to initial it. You're signing it. Why do you have to initial your signature? It's silly.
I don't know. I just noticed it after I let the customer go.
Well, I can tell you why it's there. Somebody set up these forms in Word, because I've seen them set up in Word. They put that in the footer of all of the documents, and they forgot to remove them from the footer of the last page, and that's the only reason they're there. Just ignore them. Any other forms questions? These really aren't that hard. There are going to be some of them that you have to talk about the wells on. And there's some of them you're going to have to talk to your client that says, I'm not going to, that everything is negotiable. And we're going to work on that. So while I've got you guys here, weigh in for me. I'm working right now on a class that will probably start with a 1 hour or 1.5 hour presentation of setting up your value proposition and what it ought to be for buyer's agents. I could probably have it ready next Tuesday. I could stretch it out to 2 weeks. But with the new forms, how much urgency do you think? Should I try to do this next week? Would you rather I wait? Francesca says Tuesday's good for her. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I think if you waited a little bit, it'll give us a chance to attach with Testimonial Tree and
Okay,
get used to the forms. That's just my.
okay.
I don't care.
Hey, Greg, I have a question. If we're
Yeah.
supposed to proceed as normal business because nothing's been set in stone yet, why do we have all these new forms so prematurely?
They sound premature, but the fact is, there was an earlier settlement last fall that was done with the Department of Justice that outlined most of these, and then the Department of Justice withdrew from that. So as an anticipation this was going to happen, they started working on the forms already. And in our MLS, they try to only roll out form changes once a year on April 1st. So the fact is, they can read the writing on the wall and they put them into order now.
In other words, we're trying to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah,
A lot of these changes were leaned on the association side by the MLS side.
because some of them, we wanted them to spell out the commission split on the listing side because of abuses. What we didn't have in there already was a statement that they were all negotiable. Kathy, I was offering to do a class either next week or the week after on buyer agency value proposition. It will probably won't run more than 1 week, but I was trying to see if people wanted to wait a week or go for 2 weeks. And so far I have 2 votes for next week and 1 vote for 2 weeks. Come on, people, give me
2
more
weeks.
than
Yeah,
that.
2 votes.
Oh, 2 and 2, we're tied now.
I think we're at
I'm
2.
good.
I'm at 2.
2 weeks is fine.
Mm-hmm. 2
I'm good
weeks.
for whenever you want to make this happen.
Well, and I appreciate that, but I can also get overwhelming sometimes, and I'm trying to back off of that a little bit. So I'm asking your opinion.
Overwhelming in a good way.
Yeah, I try to be good, you know, but let me ask you this question then, as long as we're looking at 2 weeks. Do you think it will be good for you to have something on value proposition for buyer agents.
Absolutely.
I'm doing a lot of study on it. First, I'm trying to see what buyers say they want versus what they get. I've gotten a couple of other class content that I'm pulling from. I'm reading on all kinds of stuff to see what we can put together that makes sense for all of us.
And if you need more than 2 weeks, take 2 weeks to.
2 weeks will do. I'll just make Tracy do all the other work. Okay then, well, I appreciate all your time today. I'm sorry we ran a little over, but I think it was worth it. Again, as soon as testimonial is available, I'll let you know.
I do have another quick question, Greg.
Shoot.
Is the MLS still currently having what the seller's commission is gonna pay right now? That's not set in stone yet, correct?
Cut your you got a lot of static there, Marie. Try again.
Talking about the MLS and still.
I said, is the MLS still displaying what the seller is willing to pay for commissions? That's not set in stone yet that we need to be concerned about right now with buyers?
It is required, but it can go, actually, they've got it down to a minimum of $1.
1 penny.
1 penny now, because they couldn't make it into zero. So the fact is, while it's not set in stone as a settlement yet, it is by an MLS rule no longer to offer compensation. So you need to very carefully check what is offered in the MLS and make it known to your seller. We're going to go looking at this house.
Buyer, I mean,
Or your buyer, thank you. Mr. Buyer, we're gonna go look at this house, but we are offering nothing on that compensation. You need to be aware of that before we walk in the door. How we're gonna come to an agreement or what we're gonna ask the seller to pay for. That's still a negotiation. They can offer nothing, but you can submit in the contract, seller agrees to pay 2.5% buyer agency compensation for the buyer. And if they agree to it, great, you're good to go. But if you don't include it, you're stuck with 1 penny. That answer your question?
Kinda, I'll just have to look in the MLS, see what's stated on there, and call the agent and see what the seller is willing to pay in compensation.
But it's my understanding that the MLS is still doing the compensation until the rules drop
Correct.
in July or August. So if you've got somebody who's got a listing that says that they're only paying, that they're paying 3%, and then you submit an offer and then they say, well, we're not paying that 3%. The rules still state what you have in the MLS is what you're supposed to pay. Until the state or government or lawsuit, whatever, until they drop the other shoe, that's how it's gonna go, is my understanding.
But let me sit on that a little bit more. A couple of weeks ago, Brenda, and I can use her because she told me to, submitted an offer the day after the president spoke or something to that effect. And the agent on the other side said, well, my seller decided he doesn't want to pay this. We will accept your offer if you'll lower your commission, and if you won't, we'll go take one of these other offers. I think that underhanded, but yes, they are doing that.
So I need to put it in the contract then? That the seller is willing to,
They had to put it in the contract because they were offering 3 and then they lowered it to 2.5.
Greg, is there a form or do we have a form, does RSCK have a form for compensation that can be signed between the agents and the brokers?
I don't know if there's a form put out there, but technically it would be broker to broker, not agent to broker.
Right, but then even when we sign a contract, we write that stuff in, that it's still broker to broker.
I know.
so do I need to do like an amendment on the side just to confirm that?
No, if it's offered in the MLS and they accept your contract the way it sits, that's what they're gonna pay you. And
But
Brenda,
what-
Maria,
you
it
said they
does
were
still
changing
show
it,
in
though.
the MLS.
there were 2 people talking. What?
I lost my train of thought.
Okay, let me go back to Brenda's deal. Before they accepted Brenda's deal, they told her, we will take your contract if you will accept 2.5% as your compensation. If you will not, we're gonna move on to a different offer. That was prior to an offer being signed. Once an offer is signed, whatever they are offering in the MLS is what they are obligated to pay.
You know, it may not be a bad idea to start having, asking or requiring listing agents to initial and date the MLS sheets, the profile sheets that actually have the commissions
The
spelled out, the
compensation.
compensation on it.
Well, you can if you want, but the good part of that is it's tracked so heavily in the MLS. I can call Doug at any moment and find out when that's changed. If it was changed after an offer was signed.
Right, but I'm just saying that if, I mean, we're already, as listing agents, we're getting our sellers to initial it anyway.
If you want to, it's not a problem. It really isn't. But if you don't want to, I understand.
And so listing, it, maybe have the seller initial on that, whatever they're offering for their compensation.
But the other thing is if you have the buyers and you want to guarantee that this is the compensation, initial it and then ask the sellers, we'd like to have you initial this as well, because not only is it mentioned in the purchase contract, but this also solidifies the compensation.
There's gonna be a lot that doesn't make sense in the next 6 months. Regardless of what's signed and what's not signed.
Okay, well, I'll just have it put in an amendment, so my CYA is covered.
And you're welcome to do that.
Okay, yeah.
But to me, I just want you to understand, whether they sign it or not, they're already obligated by other papers they sign. And if they don't want to pay it, then you all go to court and it sucks. And
Well,
I think,
that's always been though.
right, it's always been that way. And I think you'll see some people sit down at a closing table. It'll be few that say, hey, I've been watching the news. I'm only gonna give you guys 4%. If you don't like it, I'm getting up and walking out with my papers. That could very well happen. So paper is only so good as you want to back it up with.
Well, that's where you educate your client before you even end up at the closing table.
That's what the buyer representation and the listing buyer consultation and listing consultation should do.
That's
And
why
we're-
we're in this mess anyway, because people didn't do that probably.
And there are still gonna be people out there that are less than honorable that will get to the closing table and pull the rug out from underneath you anyway. So anyway, any other questions? Because we can debate this for a long time right
Yeah,
now.
and it's already 11:30. Greg, thank you.
You're quite
Yes,
welcome.
have a nice day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody.